We are going to have a look at the K-91-2. And I know right now say something like, but Raging, didn't we already had this tank? And you are right. And I tried to figure out what is going on, but I simply didn't have a lot of luck because I didn't really got a conclusive information from Wargaming. So, to clear things up, apparently, again, I'm not entirely sure, but apparently the K-91-2 stats we already had a look at like 1 week ago or 10 days ago was a tank which was already tested 2 years ago. And apparently this tank got now introduced into the test server or on the common test server in the second iteration. You can look this up when you go on the website and look up in the patch notes. This tank is fully modeled, has everything stats-wise, has a normal model. You can look it up on tanks.gg as well as Game Model 3D. And now, apparently, we got either another iteration of the K-91-2 or a completely different concept. Because the new version of the K-91-2 has worse DPM, but has much better mobility and a 360 alpha gun. So at the moment I'm a little bit at a loss because I do not know what is going on. What is the CT version of the K-91-2? Is it the same version as we are now going to have a look at? Or is it something different? This is just to kind of try and explain what is going on and just tell you how I personally feel about this right now. But now, I guess, let's just straight jump in to the K-91-2, which we now have in the SuperTest. So let's have first a look at what Wargaming wants to tell us about this tank themselves. They say the K-91-2 will enter the closed SuperTest very soon. And straight away, this vehicle's protection is outstanding. We're going to have a look at this when we come to the survivability, because again, I am right now basing or thinking that it will have the exactly same armor model as the common test version we right now have for the super testers. The most important things are that it has excellent protection, at least on paper and even from the damage model wise. It has a 360 alpha gun with 8.6 seconds reload time, as well as 0.35 accuracy. The basic round is an APCR round, which has a pretty decent penetration, and you have heat rounds as premium rounds with 310mm, which is also very, very formidable for a tier 9 medium tank. The most important thing, however, is, and this is also the biggest change from the current iteration we are having, it has 55 kph top speed with a 1000 horsepower engine. To quickly put this into perspective, really quickly put this into perspective, the current K91 we are having, which is a tier 10 medium tank, has 18.9 HP per ton ratio with an 860 horsepower engine. And the new K91 we're going to have has a 1000 HP per ton, 1000 horsepower engine with 21 HP per ton ratio. That is insanely good. In general, the mobility of this vehicle is on par, even better than what we have in the T55A. However, the terrain resistances are exactly the same, so are roughly the hull traverse speed. But again, 21 HP per ton ratio with great terrain resistances and 55 kph top speed. This thing is agile as hell. Just to put this out in here. Also, most importantly, it obviously has a 360 degrees turret, and well, Wargaming themselves say it is going to play like a T54 or an Object 140, and I have to say, I do kind of have to agree on, maybe, just maybe it will be a little bit more convenient to play, or maybe even harder. It's hard to tell. So yeah, now again, let's have a quick look at the real firepower. Again, most striking, 360 alpha. That is only something we saw so far on the Standard B and other tanks like the E75 TS. It is very formidable to have 360 alpha, to be honest. And with its reload time of the 8.6 seconds, we get a DPM of 2511. That is fairly good in my opinion, and only gets really overshadowed by the real T54 with 2700 DPM and the T55A, which has 2600 DPM. But again, 2500 is totally okay. And I personally have to say, in the current meta, where burst damage, or rather more high caliber or high alpha guns are sought after and better suited for the current gameplay, that thing is fine. Like, the 360 alpha will help you a lot, and 0.35 accuracy base, that is good. The only real issue will most likely be the long, for at least medium tank terms, aim time of 2.3 seconds. The soft stats of this vehicle are 0.12 and 0 for a movement of the hull and in general hull, and 0.1 for your turret. This is exactly the same as what the T55A has. Again, just the T55A will feel a little bit more snappy, as it has 0.3 seconds faster aim time. 40 degrees per second turret traverse speed is totally fine. 5 degrees of gun depression, that's not that good. But again, keep in mind you actually have a pretty decent armor on your turret. Also, to not forget about it, again, mobility wise, we already touched up against it and it is great. 55 kph, this doesn't sound like a lot. It actually is pretty decent. And with the 21 HP per ton ratio, it's great. And the very good terrain resistances, again, they are exactly the same as the T55A, and the mobility is better than what the T55A is because of better top speed and better HP per ton ratio. So there is nothing else to say. You might actually run into an issue that with your 50 degrees per second hull traverse speed, you might turn your hull too quickly, too much when you're trying to side scrape, because you do have 80 degrees of side armor. So now let's jump into the armor, and there we go. And again, I'm totally basing this on the assumption that this K-91-2 version we have at the common test right now, which you can see still has the 320 alpha with worse penetration but better heat penetration, la-di-la-di-la-di-da, is the same tank. The armor is very decently, especially from the front, for a medium tank. Please don't forget that this is a tier 9 medium tank and its armor is on par with the armor of the tier 10 K91, maybe even better. This plate up here is 60mm thick, meaning that no one except for the 183s will be able to overmatch it. The turret cheeks are fairly thick as well. Here we only have some small parts which are 230mm thick. The same goes for the cupola, which have around 250 effective armor-wise. We can also do a little bit of a test when we have the same amount of armor penetration, as you can see. The whole armor won't be as good. This was to be expected because it's just 175mm of armor, and it's not good angled. However, you can see that if you are lucky, you can bounce something with those and those plates, and very interestingly enough, those plates back here are 90mm thick and they are in an auto bounce angle as far as I know, or at least in such a steep angle that you shouldn't be able to get detracked and damaged at the same time. 5 degrees of gun depression, it's obviously a little bit annoying, and you can see even if you're using the 5 degrees of gun depression, there's still a 50% chance of penetrating your upper plate against another K-91-2. The cupolas, on the other hand, there you can see that the chances start to go down. Around the gun, you can see you can be a little bit lucky if you can hit it properly. The biggest issue this tank will have, and this is something I actually happened to me today while I was playing the normal K91. First things, deck armor. 40mm, that's not enough. Artillery is going to ruin your day. Second, rear armor, 45mm, you can get penetrated there rather easily. Same goes for the back of the turret. And lastly, if we actually have a look at the visual model of the tank, you might think, oh yeah, look at this, here's a little bit of spaced armor, this looks like a little bit of spaced armor, but no, it is real armor. And this gives the issue that you can get penetrated in the side rather easily by high caliber HE guns like E100, 60TP, FVs. Obviously the wheeled vehicles, all those tanks can easily penetrate you in the side with HE because there is nothing protecting you from those HE rounds. So yeah, that is actually very, very annoying when it comes to the armor model. Also, one more thing, because before we go back to the other things, I genuinely hate how those tracks are made, or track links. It looks like, me as an engineering student, it hurts my brains, or it hurts my soul seeing how those track links are managed. Because apparently there is a guidance roller over here, which allows this tank to actually have a pretty, to let this track links lay like this. But first of all, this roller is not even in the middle, so you will have asymmetrical stress on this roller and on the track links. And as soon as you try to drive backwards, I feel like, especially with how lax those track links were, they're going to crunch together. Sorry, this was a little rant I had to do as an engineering student. Last things, 390 spot view range, that is totally fine. You can perfectly work with that. Lastly, you can see we have a crew of 4, which is standard for every tier 10 medium tank. You can see crew of 4. Seriously, it's literally the same for all of them. Crew of 4, crew of 4, crew of 4, crew of 4. It's very, very convenient to play. Let's be honest right there. So yeah, there's not much else to say about except for the K-91-2. Once again, I want to point out, I personally think this tank will be probably a tank we could see in the ranked reward. Why exactly? The Kampfpanzer 50T. I personally think like it is going to play like this very, very closely. Yes, the Kampfpanzer 50T has a more accurate gun and it has more penetration, but first of all, the heat penetrations are exactly the same. And second, they both are going to be played as a more of an aggressive tank, you know, a tank type which wants to be in the face of the enemy, or at least try to use its armor a little bit. And I don't know, it's just me. We will see what is going to happen with this tank. Again, it's very, very confusing that we have 2 versions right now of this tank. If there is anything new about this tank, I'm going to keep you up to date, most likely on Friday when we have the weekly news. My name is RagingRaptor. Thank you so much for your attention. If you have anything you have to say about giving me feedback, I'll gladly take it. As always, thanks for watching. If you want to keep up to date, feel free to subscribe. And as always, good luck on the battlefield and stay safe.